Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. And today, wow, you ready to create some margin in your life? Ready to figure out how to market yourself and your services? Well, you came to the right place because our guest is the one and only Jon Schumacher. Jon is a client acquisition strategist. Yes, he's a webinar specialist and an online marketing advisor to consultants and service providers just like you. In fact, Jon's clients have earned over $10 million using his strategies over the past 3 years alone. He is a president of Marketing Mastery Media, which is a digital marketing consultancy focusing on helping consultants and service providers attract, engage, secure high-end clients through his automated and organic marketing systems. Oh, by the way, he's been mentioned in such publications as the Huffington Post, Entrepreneur Magazine, Fox News, The Good Men Project, and of course, the ultimate, the Massimo Show. Hi, this is Rod Santomassimo, and welcome to the Massimo Show. The objective of the Massimo Show is to share how you can maximize your personal, professional margin. That's right. Let's make more money in less time. Let's turn chaos into clarity, confusion into confidence, and income into real wealth. Along with sharing my insight on how I grew a multi-million-dollar professional business, we're going to bring you the expert advice from a variety of authors, consultants, and thought leaders who will provide the tools you need to maximize your own personal and professional margin. Welcome to the Massimo Show. Jon, welcome to the Massimo Show.
Thank you, Rod. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, we're pumped for this episode with you. But like all our guests, Jon, we got to get to know you before you start sharing what you do. So let's talk about you. And as an entrepreneur, like the rest of our listeners, tell me about Jon Schumacher, the teenager. Where were you raised? What were your passions? What were you thinking?
Yeah, boy, it's a long story. Depends on how we want to go here. But originally I grew up in rural Idaho. So I grew up in with horses. We had 20 cats in the barn. I used to get up and feed our horses and buck hay and stuff like that as a kid. And it was a great place to grow up, ride your bike around, those kind of things. Always wanted to get out of that small town though. I'm like a classic kind of small town kid. Like I wanted to see more and do more. So I left at 18, hopped around to a bunch of different places in the United States, went to school and all those kind of things. As a kid, really passionate about sports. I was always an athlete growing up, loved sports, loved, of course, Nintendo video games. This was back in the 80s and 90s. So my ideal weekend with friends was playing video games and having a friend over for the evening. Yeah, I just loved sports. I loved life. I loved friendships. I was always being a social guy. And yeah, that was some early stuff for me.
Okay. So did you have any passions beyond sports? First of all, did you go to college? Not everyone needs it anymore, obviously, or did, but did you go to college?
Yeah, I did actually. So I was extreme. My passions were in sports. That was my primary as a young person. I did go to college. I played a little bit of basketball at a small college and track and field, ran track and field at the university there. I was a sprinter. So I still got a 20-year-old record at my high school. So my passion was first sports, and then it became the human body. And actually, before I got into marketing, was actually a licensed physical therapist. So I went on and got a master's degree in physical therapy, went into practice for a number of years, and then just kind of started studying other stuff and fell out of love with the idea of working for somebody else or trading my time for money and that whole kind of thing. And started looking at other ways of generating income. And really what I wanted more than anything was freedom. I've always been a freedom nut. Like I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, with who I want. The spoiled kid that has his cake and eats it too, or whatever the saying is.
Okay, so here we go. We have a young man who had passion about sports, played sports in college. I did as well, which we talked about in prior Massimo shows. You came up with this body focus, fitness, physical therapy focused individual. And you might know this, Jon, but I actually patented a workout watch years ago. I'm actually a patent inventor, and I sat in the headquarters of Timex years ago, pitched my watch, and they told me, Rod, no one's ever going to track their workouts on a watch. Okay. That was proven to be a little short-sighted. But anyway, like most entrepreneurs, you said, you know what? I can no longer trade time for dollars. That wasn't the equation you wanted. So that's a big jump for most of our listeners deciding, I want to work on my own. I want to build my own thing. So when you had this thought of trading time for dollars and given your background in sports, physical therapy, what was the next step? Where did that take you?
Yeah, so I started looking at other ways of making money and trying to get out of that situation. I looked at do I want to start a physical therapy practice? And I looked at that and I go, nah, I don't really want to get into the small business kind of overhead and stress of that. So I started looking at a lot of different things, and I ended up looking at the internet as a tool. And I was brand new at the time with that. I did not have skills in that at all. But I loved physical therapy, and I thought, look, I'm going to start putting out my knowledge in that arena. So I was actually one of the first physical therapists, maybe a handful of us at the time, to start publishing video content on this fairly new website called YouTube back then. And then some of these videos really started racking up some views, and I started learning how to sell little courses and programs and stuff on YouTube. And
hold on. What were you selling? What were you packaging and selling? It
was like how to fix your back and stuff like that, like ebooks back when people bought those, and little video courses and stuff like that. This was probably 2000 and maybe 12 or something like that.
Way back. Wow. Way back.
Comparatively speaking, right? Comparatively speaking for a lot of people. But now, it was about 2010 in some of the videos, actually, thinking back. So it was about 10 years ago. So anyways, that's how I got started and fell in love with the online world and just started studying it part-time a bunch, learning all this different stuff.
Well, let me ask you a question, Jon. Did you go in, dive in deep end right away and didn't have a job and said, I'm going to do this? Or did you did you make a transition to this space?
I made a transition, and it was a number of years. I did that part-time as a hobby, making a little bit of money here and there for a while. I was really hesitant to leave my career at first because the security of that and all that kind of stuff. I actually built up about a year's worth of income before I actually just said, you know what? I had a mentor. He's like, finally, I was complaining about my job again. He's like, Jon, just quit. He's like, you're good enough. You can do it. You'll figure it out. And so this was 6 years ago.
So let me ask, some people are in that transition phase like yourself. It was a 9 to 5, or how did you fit it in your schedule?
I worked really hard. I worked hard. I would work during the day, and I would come home and I would eat, and then I would usually work into the night a fair amount. And I remember even when I started doing webinars back when this was years ago, I would do them in the evenings after work and things like that. And just, I would come home from my job and eat a little bit and then hop on a webinar or do whatever I'm doing that evening. And so it was a lot of work, no question. And I know some people recommend that you can't do both and all those kind of things, but I think for me, it made sense. I was willing to work hard, and that way I had my baseline income coming. And then once I was at a point where I'd saved up a year's worth of expenses, I said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. This morning I was listening to a Gary V podcast. Gary's message, it's consistent, if anything, but he was saying how he always would preach to people, work 9 to 5, and then do your second job, your passion, from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., get 4 to 5 hours sleep, go in. Today's podcast said maybe in retrospect, that wasn't the greatest advice, because at some point we have to recognize there's a balance and a health issue in regards to that. So different thought, different strokes, different folks. I get it. Okay. So now you are on your own. You made the big jump. Tell us those first phases, stages, fears. What were you offering to the marketplace? Where were you? Married? What's going on now?
Yeah, so I had a girlfriend. We got married shortly after that. So no kids yet, just had a son recently. So no family or anything. It was just me and my girlfriend at the time. I did have a home in California I was paying for and things like that at the time. So had a few overhead investments, personal expenses, so to speak, that I had to cover. I had the buffer. So this isn't one of those I was at the edge of my credit cards and I turned it around kind of story. I think for every one of those you hear, there's a gazillion others of people that just went broke or they had to go back and get a job. So I don't know. I subscribe to the motto: if you're short on cash flow and you're not generating it in your business yet, go get something to get some income in, so you don't have to be so reactive and in fear mode when you're conducting your stuff. Yeah, there's the classic fears of can I keep this going? That kind of thing. At the time, I was selling more webinar. I started selling more video webinar stuff. Up to that point, I was doing one live webinar a week for an entire year. So I'd learned how to do webinar stuff a lot. At the time, I was using Google Hangout software back when that was really popular. By the time I went full-time, I was actually one of the gurus in Google Hangouts marketing, which is funny to say. I had a book on it that I'd self-published. I had course on it that I was selling on joint venture webinars. I had all of this kind of like a system and a program to sell that stuff. And that was revolutionary stuff back then. People were like, no way, you can live stream from your personal computer? Like there was no Facebook Lives or YouTube Lives or anything. It was like the first economically free live streaming platform.
But John, what I heard you say, which is so important for the audience to hear, is you didn't exactly know what you were doing when you started out. You didn't know what was going to come, and you certainly evolved during the process, and you taught yourself how to do certain things. And this is how, like, I had no idea how to create a sports watch when I had the idea one day. Figured it out, right? Got the right people, figured it out. You have to commit to the process. You got to say, how bad do I want it, and make it happen. So you made it happen. You became the guru. You became the self-educated guru, because you didn't really have a mentor this time, did you?
I hired a gal for I can't remember what it was, like $500 or something. And she showed me how to use the platform, cut down my learning curve. And then I just went for it. I remember my first little webinar with those platforms. I had a couple hundred people registered, but I was doing a kind of a joint venture type thing. And I was so scared. I was so nervous for 2 weeks beforehand, hoping that the technology would work. Hopefully I didn't screw something up, but it's like every master was once a disaster, and you got to start. You don't have, what is the quote? You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great, that kind of thing.
So. Okay. I'm hearing so many good quotes here today. I got to tell you.
They're not mine. I steal them from other people. I think that was Zig Ziglar or something like that. But
so every master starts with a disaster. Is that what you said?
Every master was
once a disaster. And gosh knows that's only true for the Massimo group and me. That is so true. Disaster in the start. And then 11 years later, I think we're doing okay. So you're definitely doing okay. So John, here's what we're going to do. We learned about you, learned about how you got to where you are. You've now become this guru of marketing, specifically, and not only but certainly in the webinar space. And now you started to say, I can share with other people how to apply this webinar application to grow their businesses.
Yeah, exactly. So I started teaching them how to use Google Hangouts and webinars, and then I pivoted into webinars more broadly. I hosted the Webinar Mastery Summit, which was like a virtual summit program. I've done that for a couple of years, and that generated about 8,000 subscribers and a bunch of stuff coming in through that. And then I started offering training programs. And then I got into more consulting and higher ticket type items. That's where I am today more. I'm not really selling courses a lot and stuff anymore. I work more with a little bit further along folks now that want to improve their sales and marketing, whether that is a webinar or some kind of funnel or as other mediums as well. I love this stuff. I breathe it. I eat it for breakfast. And I just like when I was learning physical therapy, I get obsessed with stuff. And I'm obsessed with this right now.
That's a beautiful thing. You need to have the passion to make it work. So what we're going to do is, folks, hold on, because you may be asking, okay, but how does this apply to me? I'm a commercial real estate broker. I'm a banker. I'm a lawyer. I'm an insurance agent, whatever you might be. It doesn't matter, right? There's application to webinars to create funnels and leads and so forth to get you business. And we're going to do that in the next session, coming right up with a quick break with Jon Schumacher. Hey, hold on. We'll be right back with Jon, and we'll talk to you exactly how this applies to you. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with The Massimo Show. And oh boy, am I pumped. My new book, Knowing Isn't Doing, well, when it launched, it hit #1. That's right. Top-selling sales book in the entire country on Amazon.com. We're so excited to share many of our proprietary Massimo methods to allow our readers to start finally building that business and the life they've always desired. To get your own copy or learn more, visit www.knowingisn'tdoing.com. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo, and we're back with Jon Schumacher in regards to how you can leverage these marketing strategies to secure higher quality prospects and, yes, transition them to clients. Jon, welcome back to the Massimo Show.
All right, let's do it, Rod.
Let's do it. Okay, Jon, so you become this guru. Now this is your business, helping other service providers and consultants build their funnels through a variety of ways. One way we focused on thus far was the webinar. So help our audience understand first the power of the webinar and also the application. Some folks will be thinking, I don't need a webinar. My folks won't use a webinar. They're wrong. Tell us help us understand the power of the webinar and some of its application.
Yeah, let's talk about some scenarios so people can get it. So a webinar is just a web seminar, basically, right? It's just a virtual tool that you can use, and it's a one-to-many tool, right? It allows you to get leverage and reach people one-to-many. So first scenario is let's say you're a consultant or service provider, and you have a database of people, like an email list or some kind of a network, and you want a one-to-many way to get in front of them, to educate, to stay top of mind, to stay omnipresent. And for the people, when the timing's right for them, obviously reach out and look to talk to you, to work together and stuff like that. So let's say you got a list of a few thousand people you want to reach more consistently. Great. Send out an email to them. Say you're hosting a training, actually give some value, actually interact with them. At the end of that training, there'll be a percentage of those people who may want to talk to you to actually work with you. So if you have an email list or a database of people and you want a one-to-many, very low cost, work from home type of strategy versus piling them in a room or whatever, it's a great tool for that. So that's one scenario you can use it for.
So okay, so let's stick with that one scenario. Let's say folks out there, they have prospect lists. I'm just going to throw something out there. And again, it could be anything. Life insurance agent. And you know what? Let's stick with life insurance agent only because it's just an obscure thing. People think I sell life insurance, car insurance, auto insurance, whatever they sell, right? And God, I can't imagine the competitive nature of that by itself, by the way. But as an independent insurance agent, and they're thinking, I got a list, yeah, but how the heck would I use a webinar? So, John, someone like that who is an independent contractor entrepreneur, give me some application to that. How would they use a webinar?
Yeah, so I think part of what they could do is build a brand around themselves in other ways, because being the person that the community gateway, I think for a lot of local providers can be a great way to approach that. But part of it would depend on the topic, like what topic would interest enough people on your list if you're that person. So if you're a life insurance agent, it could be like 5 strategies for making sure you're covered or avoiding issues or whatever. You would have to come up with a kind of a hook first. But yeah, coming up with a hook and then just giving good information to people. And there's financial planners do webinars, financial advisors do webinars. I know they're very prevalent in those fields. So it's just about coming up with a good hook that your people are interested in.
There's 2 ways to go here, right? One is you give so much information that there's no reason to call you again. That's the thanks. Thanks for that. Very, very much. Goodbye. Yeah. Or you give no value and people are going to call you because you gave no value. So is there a balance there, John?
Yeah, there is. I think we tend as experts to want to overwhelm people because we're so smart at what we do. And we also want to show that too. We want to show that we're smart. There's a natural tendency to overwhelm people with information. So yeah, you do want to cut it down to the big picture stuff, show them what's possible, share a few stories and case examples to really anchor in the learning lessons, and think of it as more of making shifts in their minds than necessarily just giving them tons of how-to stuff, right? So you can get on, you can start the webinar, you can share some trends and some statistics and some good information. You can share a little bit of your story, you can hop in, you can share some kind of big picture ideas in the content section, and then you can have a call to action at the end for people that want to talk to you about what you just shared with them. But yeah, we all tend to overwhelm people. There is a balance between, you want to share good information, but you can go overboard, and we tend to do that.
Okay, so webinar is one of the ways to get them into, some folks are still foreign to this, it just is what it is, into a funnel. So John, can you talk a little about the funnel and what the essence of a funnel is and the components and what the objective is?
Yeah, so a marketing funnel is basically a series of web pages and words, basically like words and images on a series of web pages that your prospect can go through to come closer to speaking with you in most cases. I assume most people on here sell through a phone conversation of some kind, right? Not necessarily a sales page or anything like that. So yeah, so a common use scenario number 2 for a webinar, and I put that in quotes because it's shifted a little bit. One way you can get clients, depending on your niche, it really is dependent on that, is to place some kind of advert or advertisement, bring people to maybe a case example or a case study. And this is a recorded video, maybe 12 to 18 minutes, 20 minutes at the most, that walks them through how you've helped clients and how you've worked with them in the past. People watch that presentation and then they look to fill in a little bit of information and ultimately book a call with you or your sales team. So that's a very example of what I call an application funnel. And those are more popular today, particularly for B2B or for people that either consumers or B2B, that they're not going to sit through a long form show when they haven't really ever talked to you before. So they want something quick and punchy. They want you to get to the point. It needs to fill in enough gaps, but then allow them to take the appropriate action. And those kind of, I call them get to the point funnels or application funnels, are more popular these days than they used to be.
Okay, but it sounds like a lot. Yeah, we use webinars, we use funnels, we use Infusionsoft, we use email, we use everything. But some of the listeners out there might be saying, I know it's over my head. It sounds really good, but wow, it sounds really complex. Jon, is it complex? Is it comprehensive? Is it hard? How do you describe its application?
For the funnel I just shared with you, yeah, there's a learning curve. Obviously, I would definitely hire somebody to do it. It's not terribly complex to a lot of people. You do need to be able to put together a few web pages. There are softwares out there that you can learn that can put the pages together for you. There are different softwares that kind of have these pre-built, so you don't have to start from scratch or be a coder or anything like that. I would recommend, if you have the funds, I would hire somebody to do it. And then you would just have to create a short presentation, which is pretty straightforward. These little mini presentations are not complex, not nearly as complex or difficult or time consuming to put together than a longer form, long webinar, like a 60-minute presentation.
So address one thing you said, because my listeners, if you know me, I'm going to tell you, it's not a matter if you have the funds, it's a matter of if you can have someone, engage someone to do this for the cost less than you can, the hours less than you can, and you just got to engage someone to do it for you. Delegation is the key. Outsourcing is the key to grow your company. But Jon, and go back to what you just said, is the 1 hour webinar still, people are thinking that, or is it, you said earlier, maybe 12 minutes? Is there more of a selling format today?
I don't know how deep you want to get into this, but so there's a place for the longer form webinar in my mind, and that is to your database. So like not to people that have never met you before, because you're asking them, hey, would you come and watch an hour-long thing with me? And it's just people's attention, particularly if you're serving other businesses, is very limited these days. Not to say it can't work or there aren't exceptions, but in my mind, the longer 60-minute webinar is best served for your house list, your database, because they have a relationship with you a little bit more already. They're more willing to give you time. Whereas if you're just looking to bring in new subscribers, new leads, new people into your world, I would stick with a shorter form auto webinar, meaning it's recorded. It's not live on the front, especially if you're running ads from like Facebook or LinkedIn or Google ads or any of that kind of stuff, because think about what you're asking of these already busy people, right? And they don't have a relationship with you. So we're actually seeing, and it's not just me, but others, and I talk to other experts in the field as well. We're actually seeing better results for B2B or for people who target folks who have more money than time to use these shorter form, more direct webinar, almost like a VSL, which is a video sales letter, like a small little recorded video, basically is what it is.
Are we talking in those webinars? I'm sure it's a range, but are they live video webinars that you're talking to a camera? Are they PowerPoint presentations, the combination? Is there one that for a 12-minute video sales letter that you're saying this is a format we're finding that works, has the most application penetration?
Most people, for speed and of implementation and the 80-20 rule, they just use a presentation and they record the presentation, they get it up and they test. I have had some that I've audited that where there was a little more fanciness to it, like a guy was standing up in front of a projector behind him and then they recorded that, and that did fine as well. But most people, it's like, okay, let's get the big core marketing messages together. Let's get a basic slide deck together quickly. Let's record it and let's go out and see if people actually resonate with it versus trying to make it professional right out the gate.
Yeah, I think, Jon, that is absolutely essential. If we can keep it simple to do, anyone could just do a PowerPoint voiceover with today's software. That's so simple to do. It's fast. Of course, the message you craft is the essential element of it. The copywriting is key. I remember back even 2 or 3 years ago, folks like Jeff Walker and others were promoting series of hour videos professionally done. You're saying, no, that is just not necessary.
It depends on where you're at in your journey. Doing partner launches or affiliate launches like Jeff Walker was teaching with the professional video series can be great. But the mistake most people make is they look at the big experts out there or the celebrities that are doing it big and they go, I want to do that. And that's not where they started. They all started smaller. They started to validate their offer internally with the seed launch. And they did all kinds of stuff before they ever got to the flashy professional video series. So especially if you're testing a new funnel, get it out fast and test it quickly. Don't get hung up being perfect. Take imperfect action. Perfectionism is a disease. It's going to hold you back from really validating your offers or validating your messaging and all that stuff. That's the important stuff.
So the idea of crafting a video sales letter for anyone, any service provider out there, obviously the message is what counts, obviously, and then not only creating the message, you got to do that, get the copywriting correct. But it's easy. I'm telling folks that if you're get somebody knows PowerPoint, create a message, 12-minute video voiceover is what John's suggesting here. And of course, you have the back end that with how you're going to facilitate securing the leads and then converting those leads to meetings. And then you have a sales issue of getting those meetings to the client, which we focus on, of course, at Massimo. But John, what else should we be aware of before we talk about you and your business? What else should we be aware as far as this webinar approach to securing some more clients?
Yeah, I think those are the two scenarios I would think of for your listeners. One, if you have a database, use it as a one-to-many tool. It's a good tool for that.
You said earlier that you were doing webinars every week.
Why was I doing that? Okay. So another scenario, good question. I was doing them with joint venture partners most of the time. So I was either doing it with another person who would help invite their audience to the presentation as well. And then I would do some to my audience as it grew in between, right? So some of these were sales webinars, some were more training. It was a combination of the two, right? So there's a little different each. Some of them were more interview styles with a pitch or whatever. So I would mix it up a lot. Yeah. So another use of webinars, live webinars, is to do partnership type events with other organizations or other relevant publications or whatever, other people who have audiences, so that you can co-mingle your audiences together, and it helps you get more visibility and helps you grow.
That's a great idea. Great idea. And look, maybe you're a commercial real estate agent and you're saying, you know what if I get a tax strategist or an property insurance advisor or a lawyer on escrow or opportunity zones? Okay, John, we got a few minutes left of the Massimo Show, so I want to learn about your business, because entrepreneurs are saying that here's a young man, and John, compared to me, you're a kid. So here's a young man who's gone out, found a passion, self-educated, really honed in. Now is really the top of the game of helping others succeed, which I think is the best measure of success, helping others succeed. So tell me about your business. How big is your organization?
Yeah, I would hardly call it an organization. I personally tried to keep it very lean and very simple for me. And I always tell my clients that I'm a simpleton, right? I like to keep things as simple as possible, believe it or not, after that last segment, to get things done. So it's me. I have an assistant, Claire, who helps me with kind of some of the administrative stuff. Beyond that, it's just a team of contractors that are available as needed. So I have a gal who can create graphics for me. I have a person I can reach out to for any kind of funnels or web page building. And we can also do that with clients who need that kind of service too. I have a person who can run ads and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty much just me, another assistant, and I make almost all my money through my own personal consulting and coaching arrangements that I have with clients.
Okay, so how do you run your day? Tell me about your platform. Is it Outlook? Is it something different? Is it account? How do you run your day?
Yeah, so I just use the scheduling tools for those kind of meetings. I use Schedule Once, Calendly for those. Just integrate those with Google Calendar. I use Google Calendar to watch over my day. Every week before I start the week, I'll actually just write out what I have to focus on for that week. So I'm pretty old school. A lot of times I'll just write it on paper. I'll just have my calendar, my electronic calendar, with all my date and time sensitive meetings and client meetings, prospect meetings, interviews, all that kind of stuff on my calendar. And then I'll just, before I start the week, write out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I'll just write in the date sensitive, time sensitive things that I have to do. I also have a to-do list of other top projects that I'm working on in between time sensitive things. Mm-hmm. So this is a time sensitive thing, this interview. So I need to be here at this time for this length of time. But I also have other projects I'm working on, right? So I'm recording some more content after this today for my training portal that I have for my clients. So I'm putting together some of that today as well. So I pretty much have a to-do list of kind of high priority tasks I'm working on. Usually those are sales, marketing, and fulfillment stuff, content creation. And then in between that, I have my meetings, right? My interviews, my client meetings, my prospecting calls, and all those kind of things.
Whoa, so you make prospecting calls?
No, I don't cold call, but maybe they said that wrong. I don't cold call, but I take inbound inquiries and people that are interested in working together.
Perfect. So you have your own funnels for how people can work with you.
Yeah, I do. A big part of mine is I get a lot of inbound leads through Google. So I rank for some pretty decent long tail keywords and stuff like that. So I'll get people that come to my website and they'll book a call with me and fill in the application and then pick a time on my calendar that's blocked for available calls and all that kind of stuff. So I have my own kind of filter funnel process that people come through. I also do a lot on Facebook marketing. I have a pretty good network there. And then I have an email list that's decent that I engage with as well.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Jon, this is awesome information. Everyone, I would really highly suggest you consider how, and you need to shift things today to how you're going to attract the audience you want to work with. And it is possible. I know we do it all the time at the Massimo Group, using the power of webinars to attract the audience, followed up with some funnels to send a message, secure the meetings, and ultimately convert the clients you want to convert with. So, Jon, a lot of folks are saying, sounds great. Where do I start? And I think they start one way is with you. So how do folks get access to you?
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, you can go to jonschumacher.com. That's Jon, Jon. Schumacher is SCHUMACHER, like the race car driver. I don't know if there's any racing fans, or I think there's a horse jockey as well out there who does that. But anyway, jonschumacher.com is my primary domain. There's a contact form there, or if you want to reach out to me through that medium, that's fine. Or you can email me at jonschumacher.com. That's fine too. Depending on when this is released, I am in the process of setting up a couple of new links. If you want to join a private Facebook group with me, but this is full of consultants and service providers who are around that $5,000 a month level and up. If you'd like to join a group where I share deep insights and we have really cool discussions in there, you can go to groupwithjon.com. That's groupwithjon.com to check that out.
Great. A lot of ways for you all to connect with Jon, and I highly recommend that you do. Well, Jon, I can't thank you enough for your valuable time here at the Massimo Show. You did share with me one quote, which I want you to share as you sign off. It had to do with the exchange and money and time. I hope you remember that quote. Let's see. Jon, go ahead and give it.
Yeah, I think what you're referring to is you can always make another dollar, but you can't make another minute. And so that for me was a big thing. Freedom, right? Freedom, being able to choose how we spend our minutes, because we can always make more money. I know it doesn't seem like that sometimes for you, or money is a big focus for you, but it's important to take a step back and realize that you can always make more money at some point. Maybe you'll catch fire, maybe an idea catches off, or maybe you're doing well already and you're just focusing too much on money and you need to focus on your minutes more. You can always make another dollar. You can't make another minute.
That's the essence of the Massimo Show, is really maximizing your personal and professional margin. Jon is living that every day. He went from being a physical therapist and exchanging dollars for time to now recognizing that, look, I can always make another dollar. I just cannot make another minute. So he changed what he's doing. He's an entrepreneur. He built his business on his own. And now full-time for 6+ years, he's helping others secure more clients. So Jon, thank you so much. And folks, this is Rod with the Massimo Show. If you like this message, please go ahead and share it with your friends and colleagues and help them succeed as well. What I'm going to say, as I always do, let's move forward. And as always, knowing isn't doing. Until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. I want to thank you for listening to this version of the Massimo Show. And please, please go out and share this with your friends, your colleagues. Heck, share it with your dog. Just share it. And more importantly, just give me some feedback, good, bad, or indifferent. We all grow from understanding what our audience wants to hear. So until next time, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Show. Hey, this is Rod Santomassimo with the Massimo Group. And did you know over the last 12+ years, we've worked with thousands of independent contractors, solopreneurs, and small business owners in helping them achieve the business and the life that they've always desired. To learn more how we could possibly help you achieve your goals, please visit www.massimo.coach. That's www.massimo.coach.